Dave here, how are you? Today is the 4th of August 2019, Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, Australian Eastern Standard Time. How is everyone out there? As you can see, not on my deathbed anymore. I'm feeling fantastic. You know, thank God for antibiotics. They do come with a kind of a penalty as well as you're going along, but overall, you know, I'm still alive. You know, take you back a couple of hundred years, people died of pneumonia. Sorry state. So we are born in such a fortunate period on the time scale of the planet Earth. Have I waffled on enough yet? Okay, looking good, given that bug a good licking. Yep, I'll tell you what, it was a horrible thing. The antibiotics, I'm sure you meant anti. It's one of those things, you've cruised through life, and whilst you're healthy and everything's going fine, life is fantastic. And then all of a sudden, we're brought back down to earth again. You are mortal, you do get crook. And one of the worst things about this thing that I had, which was a bacterial lung infection, was that apart from, you know, just being drained because there's no oxygen getting to anything really, and the fever is waking up in the middle of the night dripping wet from these, you know, sweats. And because you're so cold from the fever as well, you know, get out of bed to try and, you know, change a position, move to another side of the bed, take a shirt off, throw another shirt off and on and get dry. But all this whilst you're crook and not really thinking very well, and fever and shivering. It was horrible. So I just thank God that as I'm going through life, ordinarily, I'm a very healthy person. Anyway, so I feel I have a whole new respect for people that don't have it as well as I do. Now, today on the show, let's get past all that. What we have, and I promised last week to show you what the little idea that I came up with, and I shared it with John down at Yellow Box Shed, and he's actually made it for me. Now, if you saw the preface that I put on Instagram, you'd see this little guy here. Now, this is a very, very simple thing. It's a dust shroud. And I've designed a few of them. There's one that is 120 degrees for doing internal corners, one that is 180 degrees, and one that is 2 inches tall. So you can use that for pattern following. Basically, it's a deflector, and it rotates in a Craig router table insert. It's very, very easy. Sometimes the best ideas are the simple ones. Not a great time, Dave, when the health goes. Exactly right. What are the dimensions of the Stanton bench? Basically, it's 4 feet by 2 feet by 1 foot. There you go. Half a sheet of ply, and you got the thing knocked up. That's it. Of course, using my plans. So if you grab the plans, you'd know the size. So there you go, Russ. What do we got? So the rotating dust deflector for the router table. We're also going to look at my router table fence setup, because a few people, Derek in particular, asked about how that's set up. On my particular table, I share the same area. This beautiful bench that I've got, which is my outfeed table from my table saw, also incorporates my router table as well. So I use the fence on my table saw, and I built a saddle for that is the fence for the router table. So I'll show you through that as well. Okay, Janice, you're always having dodgy reception up that way. Now, whilst you're still there, I'm just letting people know, I have let them know on the Facebook page, but I'll just let you know now, towards the end of August, I'm going to be in Melbourne. So if you're in Melbourne and you're interested in a meetup, there's a few people that are already put their hands up, said, yeah, how about we have a beer or something? That'd be fantastic. So we need to work that out. Send me an email at davestantonfans@gmail.com, and we'll work out a venue. Last time I was down there, we went to a pub and had a dinner and a couple of beers, and it was great. Maybe 10 people rocked up. So let's see if we've got those same people and a few other people. I really do enjoy meeting up and having a bit of a chat and seeing exactly one-to-one with you what you've got. You guys know what I've got here, but I'm interested to hear about what you're doing in your shed, and if it's set up or whether it's just a corner in your room somewhere. It doesn't matter. I love to hear everyone's different take on what they do for this fantastic hobby, pastime, whatever you want to call it, that we have here. So there you go. If you're interested, send me an email and we'll set up a little group on Facebook or something to work out the finer details. All right, Greg White, I'm on holidays currently, driving between Melbourne and Adelaide. Well, good on you, Greg. Okay, 3/4 inch shoulder plane, Arthur's shoulder plane. I tell you what, I'm just falling in love with all of his old tools again. I love them. And Aspire fillets. Now, it's not a steak. It's not some kind of rare cut of meat. It is a fillet. Now, I'll show you why I decided I wanted to go down that track. See this. This is the T-track. Sorry, this is the... So I'm not totally healed. This is the rail support for my TS55, the track saw. Now, on the back here is a hose guide. Okay, so the hose and the power lead slide through there backwards and forwards as the saw is tracking across the Stanton bench. Now, these little guys down here are to stop the corner of the circle and this rectangle being a sharp point. Now, I tried to clean these up on the router table using a 1/4 inch roundover going this direction, and unluckily, or unfortunate for me, a lot of them tore out. They delaminated. So I'm going to show you how to put a fillet in there. So if you're interested in CNC, this will happen towards the end of the show. Now, I know a lot of people have just, as soon as you say CNC, their eyes glaze over. And you swear they're dead, but they're not really. They're just turning off. And again, the thing with a CNC, all it is a router, an overhead router that is guided around via stepper motors and a computer program. Now, half the joy of using the CNC machine, for me at least, is learning this program. And when I make a discovery, it's like a light bulb pops on and you go, you idiot, why have you been doing it this other way when this is so much simpler? Now, John Lafferty's probably going like this, oh, Dave, I've told you how this works. And he'd be very dismissive of me because he's absolutely fantastic with Fusion 360. Now, I haven't got Fusion 360. I possibly will learn that further down the track. But as you know, Vectric gave me Aspire because of the CNC machine that they arranged for me to have as well. So I'm very, very fortunate. So I am learning Aspire because I have it. And I'll tell you what, it's bloody handy. So that's what we're going to do a little bit later on. So let's look at, and I've got Zoe's sign here, so I'm in the good books with everyone. Chris Sullivan, you have to do a CNC show one Sunday. CNC is a good tool to watch. Well, I will do the CNC actually using it in another week or two. The reason being, I have the Penrith Woodworking Club coming up here maybe next week or the weekend after, on a Sunday after the show. And they're very interested to see the CNC, not C and C, machine working, and also I'll show them a little bit in Aspire as well. It's very quick and easy to do. That's easy for me to say now because I've gone down the path. It's just that when you get to being cake age like I am, you really do need to learn new things. You know what they say, use it or lose it. Okay. Where are we up to? So I shall move Zoe's sign. It's had its exposure for the moment. And it also occurred to me that when I was tidying up Arthur's, eye muffs. not just one winner this week. I spoke to George, and we're going to do 2 giveaways this week. 2 pairs are going out. So you will have to wait till later in the show, and I'll explain why we're doing 2 pairs. Oh, and also, not this week, but the week after, we'll be doing another Carbotech giveaway as well. So I've been chatting with Carbotech, and we're still going to continue doing this $100 retail giveaway, which is fantastic. They don't have to do it. They do it because I asked them. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you how Arthur's cabinet scraper plane is working. Now, last week, all I did was run it over a piece of timber, and you heard it go shh, shh, and you believed that I told you it was cutting. You believed me because, you know, I'm a trustworthy character. So I did a bit more of a clean-up on it. So you can see I've cleaned this central machine screw there. I've also cleaned up both the brass wheels there. Use it or lose it, absolutely correct. Now what I've done also is I was asked last week to do a demo on sharpening this and putting a new hook on. Well, I possibly will do that, but I'll tell you how I did it. I took the card out of the plane. I ran it across the Pro Edge just at 90 degrees with a 240 grit belt on it, just to get rid of the previous hook that I created. I put it in Arthur's vise over here. I used the burnisher, pulled a new hook on it, dead easy. And then I inclined the blade in the cabinet scraper. So you see, instead of being up at 90 degrees, I've rolled it over. So you watch. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from there, but let's see what happens. Now, that just came off it. I've got the focus set for different lengths here, and I've also increased the brightness because it was seeing me in a bit of a shadow here. But let's do another one. Oh, beautiful. Look, these are wispy, 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 wispy shavings that are coming off it. So you can believe me now. Don't just take my word, you've actually seen it happen. And it does a magic job. It's just beautiful. Magic, magic, magic. Whilst we're on the old planes, let's have a look at this one. Remember last week I cleaned up the brass on that. I thought, how about I clean up the shoulder planes as well? Because they're a mixture of rosewood and brass. Someone told me that they thought they were gunmetal. I don't think that's gunmetal. I think that's brass. So I cleaned it all up, and aren't I the lucky duck? These are beautiful. So I cleaned up. It's in an Australian cedar little box that Arthur made for it. So for those that don't know, the hook side down. Yes, Russell, the hook side down. So it's curling the shaving so fast it doesn't get a chance to lift and delaminate from the timber because it's turning it around like this. So there's nothing that woodworking course, have fun. I'll watch when you get home. I don't know who that was, but all I saw was Janice said, "See you, Zane." Okay, so it must have been Zane. It is. It's a. Oh, do you like this? That's so nice. So let's see. I'm not going to use it in the manner that it was meant for, but let's see if I can. So there you go. I'll take that out. How nice is this? See that? That's his shoulder plane. And I guess it may have been set a little bit deep because what would happen there is if I got too much build up in here, it would probably start lifting the plane. But there is a slot there. Let's see if I can develop that slot a little bit more by dropping the plane in it. Whoop. I've also got a bullnose. It does have a little thing on the wedge at the front here. I don't know if you can see. You may not be able to see it. But it acts as a kind of the front of a ship. Parts the water. Well, it's actually pushing these out the side. You won't see that on that camera, I don't think. But there's a little dado created there. Anyway. Sorry, Michael, let's have a look. Dave, I don't just have this one. Give me a sec. Oh dear, I'm tragic, aren't I? I am a tragic. Let me get this book out of here and see if I can find the other shoulder plane that I have. It's in here somewhere. I should have done this before the show. Nope. Oh, what I do have here, someone might be interested in seeing. The other week, I think someone got a hold of one of these. And it is a 78 rebate plane. See, that's, you know how kids have got toy boxes? This is Dave's toy box down here. I love it. Okay. As I say, I've got a 1-inch as well in brass, and I've also got a bullnose plane in brass as well. I'll get them out for next show. You can have a look then. In the bottom of this, of the cedar box, are 2 felt pads that Arthur made as well. And it just drops in so beautifully. John, you bought the one for $20, did you? I thought someone had bought it. I thought it might have been you. Okay. Okay, whetstone sharpening system or just the Sorby Pro Edge. I'll have to read up further down the track when I review the show to see what people have been saying there. Sorry, I'm toy box in big toy room. I'm so fortunate. I am. Coffee, give me a sec. It's around 17 minutes past, 18 minutes past, according to the clock down there. Let's have a look now at this, and I'm going to use this. I'm going to go to the other camera because I think it should be okay. Okay, so you can see me up in the corner here. I'm going, whoop, this side. I'm going to head down over there to the router table, and I'm going to spin this around this way. So hopefully you'll be able to see me talking down here while I'm doing stuff. Now, a lot of you will be familiar with a router table insert. So this is a Craig router table insert, and I've got the Triton 3 1/4 horse router table underneath. Now on my table, this is my table saw here. This is the corner of the table saw. So I'm going to drag this back. This is a saddle fence that I've made for here. Now you'll see there's mag switches here and here. So what I can do is I can lift this up, and you'll see there's the fence for my table saw. And then this is a box section that I've made up. There you can see the bottom of the mag switch. This section here fits over the top of my fence on the table saw. And you can see the dust port. And this is the back of a Craig router table fence. There's also a connection here that's designed to work with the fence. But you'll notice down here, right in the corner, I've got a T-track going through here that I can anchor the back. And it'll make sense in a second. So what I do is I sit this over the top of the fence until I'm lined up with the front of the table saw up there. It's just off camera, you can't see it. Let's see if I can swing it around a little bit. There you go, that might be easier to see. Now you might also see down here, the cursor for my table saw for the rip fence is great for there, but then also you'll see that I have another tape just here. If I pull away from it, you'll be able to see a little bit easier. Okay, so this one is a right to left hand tape. And then it is set to 0 when I'm absolute center of the cutter. See that? Let's spin this around a bit further this way. Whilst I'm dead center of the cutter, on the over here on the rail for the rip fence, that's the 0 point tracking out that way. So now I can work out, I know the diameter of the cutter, so I can subtract the radius of the cutter from the distance that I'm going along on the fence. So say I have a 10mm cutter here. This is just for argument's sake. Let's say 20mm. It's going to be a whole lot easier. Let's say I've got a 20mm cutter and I want to create a dado 15mm away from the edge of a board. So say I wanted to create a dado 15mm in. I would set my fence over there to 25mm, which is 15mm plus half the diameter, which is the radius of 20mm. So it would be 15 plus 10. Immediately, I'd be on it. Let me set it to it. 25mm. I'm locked. The distance behind here is now 15mm to the fence. And as I mentioned, up the other end here, let me see if I can bring this up here. You can see it. Just here, I can put in, I haven't got one sitting there at the moment, but I can put a T-bolt in here. Through that, unlock this end, so there's no, any flex is got rid of. So it's a great little system. These mag switches, lock it down, so it can't lift, and away you go. Now, so that's the router table fence. Now let me unlock this. When I'm using a roundover bit, or a pattern follower, anything with a bearing on it that's being guided, I normally have the fence open and the dust port here connected. And then what I do is, as I'm pushing this along, I normally keep it a little bit forward, so the dust is being collected there. Now I'm restricted by what width I have here. Say I want to work on one of my benches. So let me move a couple of things out of the way and I'll show you what I mean. When my bench comes off the CNC, there's a whole heap of what's called tabs. And the tabs are there to hold the piece together until I take it off the machine, because I anchor this down. And when you cut all the way through, sorry, I've got to make sure that you can see what's happening. When I've cut all the way through, these aren't being held anymore, and it can slide around and cause a bit of a grief for you. So these little tabs are connecting pieces of timber from here to the other part that I've cut the board out of. Now I need to get rid of those, so the easiest way is to put a little, maybe a 1/16 roundover cutter with a bearing, and then I can push it up against there and follow it. And I have all of this bench, all the real estate here to support it. If I had to work along the face in front, I'm going to start having this problem, and that's not good. Put a round lift and miter saw wing, and I'm limited on space now. Martin, hello everybody. Hello, Martin. So I thought, well, how about we do something that's not going to restrict me? So I came up with the idea of that. And you're going to say, yeah, good on you, Dave. What is that? Well, let me just check that I've got all of slots cleaned out. Yes, they are. So this is a rotating dust shroud that locks into the top of this. Now, undo that one, take her out, pop this one in, and lock. Now, that will move wherever I want it to as a dust shroud, as I'm putting a large piece over. See how it just moved out of the way then? Wherever I put this, it will follow. So as I'm coming past, beautiful. So the cutter is turning this direction. And so you see how when I pushed it up against there, this is following against the edge. So it's restricting the amount of open. It can go to there, of course, and that would allow a little bit of dust to go out. But as soon as I move this around, I'm back to there. And how nice is that? So that's one. That's for 180 degrees. Now, the one I'm going to demonstrate on, I thought it might be an idea if instead of just doing 180 degrees, we do one at 120 degrees. Now, the reason that one's there is if I want to go into internal corners. So let's take that out. And I'm just checking this. Sometimes the printing is leaving. See, just here, you may or may not see it. There's just that little bit of residue from the print left there. And that's fine. I just want to get rid of it. Where's my knife? I'm just going to get a Stanley knife. Got it. Okay. So here we go. We've got that. As I say, it's just every now and then, with any 3D printing, you might get a little bit of residue in there. That's fine. So now I can drop that in here, get the clamp, or the tool that locks it up, tighten her up. Beautiful. How cool is that? All right, now, where's that stick that I've got? This is what I'm talking about. 90 degrees. I want to follow there and then back out there. Well, this one would have held me out. There's no way I could have done it. But this one, I can slide in and then back like so. And I'm going to demonstrate it. I'm going to demonstrate it. So let me get my stuff together here. I've already set that at the right height. I'll make sure that the router is going to work all right. Yes, going to work fine. And how about we turn the dust extractor on in the right area? Are you enjoying what I'm doing today? Is it, like, I have to apologize for being crook. You know, it's just one of those things I had no control over. I'll make sure that I've got the dust port open there. That's closed. All that's closed. And that one's open. Good. So I'll start up the dusty, as you know I do with this thing. And I should really have something over that because at the under that, because that one is open to the cabinet. I'll just check that. What do we got? Oh, I should have really prepared this, shouldn't I? There we go. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but there you go. This one's going to there, and I'll turn the other one on as well. Give me a second. And I think I'll hook into this one, open that, and close that. That should work. Turn her on. Yeah, that's working great. All right. A lot of mucking around, wasn't it? Here we go. Put the eye muffs on. Beautiful. Make sure everything's out of the way there. Now I'll let you know, I haven't used it yet. So this is cool. See how we go. There's the roundover. How nice is that? It works. What can I say? Let's turn some things off. Beautiful. All right, so now I'm going to spin this around again to there, and hopefully that'll work. And switch the cameras back to the main camera and the chat and do the transition. There you go. Easy, easy, easy little thing. I don't know what John's going to sell them for, but I think he's going to do some discounts. So if you're interested, there'll be 2 forms of discount. I think you'd have to check with John. So what the discounts are people for the show, I think, or the Dave Stanton live stream Facebook page. Well, you have to apply to get into that one. So I think that's going to be one. And a bigger discount to my patrons. This is a way for me to say thank you to all of the people that are helping support this show. So John will do, I think, maybe a 25% discount for my patrons. So if you want to save a couple of bucks, become a patron. You know, you can jump in for $1, $2, $5, whatever. Look, have a look at the Patreon site. And as I say, I try and do little things like this with John's help. So how cool is that? John, who, as I say, you know, I've been crook, and John has to put up with this stuff all the time and never complains. Just amazing. So there, he will even do them in yellow. See that? Now here's another thing. When you get it, what I found was I put a little bit of 3-in-1 oil down in the back there and on the back here as well, just to assist it to rotate. It didn't do that when I first got it. So a little bit of 3-in-1, just a tiny bit, or silicone spray, because it's a moving part, it needs lubricating. And John's not going to do that, so it's something you'd have to do when you get it. All right. How nice is that? I told you it last week, you'd be impressed, and it's great. What's the next thing? John Larry, is Luke able to make things for Yellow Box Shed in the States yet? I have no idea. You'll have to speak with John about that. So we've had a look at the rotating dust deflector, which is fantastic. We've had a look at my fence, my router fence, that is a saddle that goes over the top of the of my rip fence. I'm reading down the side here. You know, Swamp John with orders. He's going to love it. As I said, if you become a Patreon, you get a bigger discount. So John will look after all that. But you have to, as obviously, become a patron first before you can get the discount. But you might just want to get the thing and not worry about that. So that's your call. We've had a look at the 3/4-inch shoulder plane, and I just love it. How nice is it? The old tools were works of art. You can have another look. I'll hold it steady. Do they make a cord wrap for the CT MIDI? Already comes standard with it with the new one. Is it cord wrap or is it a hose wrap? Look, there is a cord wrap that's got a zip up the side. It's made out of some kind of a calico or canvas. And it works fine, so your hose and the cord will drop in there. Fingerprints on the plane, Dave. Oh, dearie me, you can't have that. Well, everyone will know it's mine. Ha! How beautiful is that? It's just so nice. Anyway, you've got stuff from your grandfather there, David. Yeah, these are my great-grandfathers. And, you know, what can I say? All right. Reading down through there. I'm still reading through this. Let's have a look. All right, I'm going to tell you the first winner of the eye muffs. Remember, there's two. Now, it's an international winner. So you were all excited. All right, so the first winner, remember there's two, the first winner is from Germany. And it's fitting, seeing it's Festal Green. They'll probably want green ones, seeing it's from Germany. And the person's name is Christian Reinhardt. So Christian Reinhardt did the right thing, entered the competition. Now, I didn't explain the competition too well because I was very sick and wasn't thinking straight. So the rules were to enter via the normal way and also put a comment in the comment section below. Now, because I didn't explain it too well, the reason I'm doing a second win is because I was aware of that, and for people that hadn't entered through Rafflecopter, I've chosen someone from the area below in the comments section. I can't do fairer than that. All right, so Christian, I'm going to send you an email. If you're in Germany, you're probably still up at the moment. It's probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Crazy. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at Aspire and the fillets, and we've got around about 20 minutes left of the show. And as I say, it's just something, if you're not interested in Aspire or CNC work, I totally understand. If you want to go, that's fine. You've probably seen as much of hand tool stuff that I'm going to do and little innovative things. How good is that dust shroud? Have another look. Isn't it? Just such a simple thing. The other one is 50 millimeters tall. So you can use that for a pattern following bit. And it's just like a hood. So easy. So easy. All right, 3:38 a.m. mark. You crazy guys. All right, so Aspire. Now, as I say, you may not be interested in this part, and I get that. I don't want to see comments all over the place saying, I hate CNC machines. They're the future, same as 3D printers. That's where it came from. So I don't want to be left behind. I want to keep on learning. All right, so I think I have set this up. Let me see if I've got main camera, second camera. I need to have a look down through here. Oh, before we do you want to see what I looked like before I had my hair cut? There you go. And also, here's the award that George won. That's a very prestigious award. And whilst we're here, we're going to have a look at, there's someone who's watching called Graham, and Graham was concerned that I was really crook and sent this in for me to have a look at, and suggested, Dave, I know it's a gross subject, but maybe you need to do a nasal wash. And I thought, that's fantastic. How nice is that? Derek Lark's got a bit of a smile there, so let's throw a picture up from Derek as well. So Derek has assembled his Stanton bench. He bought that as a kit from me. But what he did was he asked John to print some shorter legs, because the bench that he wanted to use it on was just going to be a little bit too tall. So the shorter legs have resolved everything. So there you go. Amazing. Come back to this camera while I try and find Aspire. Okay, here we go. I'm going to transition, you're going to see a whole lot of other stuff until I open Aspire. And I think I've also got, where are Aspire? There we are, down there. I should have it so that you can still see the chat down the side. And I should be in the bottom corner, bottom left-hand corner. Can you see me there? All right. Don Tancred, is the tool 3D printed also, or is it aluminium? I'm not sure what you're saying. Well, the thing that I just showed you, the rotating dust shroud, is a 3D print. All right, here we go. This is pretty easy. So I've just opened up a new job, and I'm telling it to be 600 by 600 millimeters, which is, 2 feet by 2 feet, 18 millimeters thick. This really doesn't mean anything right at the moment, because all I'm doing is going to show you a quick way of doing fillets. So our modeling resolution is high. Our datum point is the bottom left corner for the XY position. It says it's going to look like MDF, but I think it's going to end up looking like pine. So we'll click OK. Now, so there is my piece that's 2 feet by 2 feet. Now I want to show you how easy this is. Let's create a rectangle. So I'm going to left click on the mouse, and I'm using a PC, not Apple. So I'm going to left click on create a rectangle, and it's saying all these coordinates that it wants to do it at. I don't want to put it there. I want the rectangle to be, let's say, 300 millimeters wide, and maybe also 300 millimeters high. Okay, and I'm going to click here, and there it is. We'll close that. So now I have this vector, and if I left click anywhere else on the screen, and can you move the image over the chat side of the screen? I possibly could, but not right at the moment, David. I've got it set up to run as it is. Can you see it all, or is it not coming through for some strange reason? I wanted to have it so that we had the chat on the right-hand side like normal, and Aspire is still filling everything, and then we've got the picture underneath. It was working earlier when I did a quick recording, so hopefully it works. So here we go. We've got this square. Now, I did mention, let me get this back over here again so you can see what I'm talking about. I did mention this circle coming into a rectangle, and that's an awkward one to kind of line up manually to get the vectors to actually lock onto each other. It's okay now, just not at beginning. Okay, not at begging. I can see it clear on a laptop monitor. Okay, all good. So here we go. Now I'm going to create a circle. So left click on the draw a circle thing, and it's got a a diameter of 100 millimeters. And again, it's got coordinates there that if I really wanted to be precise, I could do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some smart snapping. I'm going to left click there. Now it's not over far enough, so I'm going to get rid of that and do it again. So how I get rid of it is push the delete button, and it's gone. Go back to the circle, and I'm going to come in a little bit closer. Going to click there. Now I've got an intersection. So put the vectors to sleep. So I have a circle and a square. I want to create this as one vector. So now what I can do is I can highlight those two vectors by left clicking from the right and dragging over the two vectors. And so they've both been woken up. Over here, we have subtract second selected vector from the first. If I left click that, it's made that one vector. It's welded it together, got rid of all this other stuff that I didn't want. Okay, now, what we're going to do now is the tool that I was talking about. This guy down here is the fillet. I left click on that, and I'm just going to muck around with normal fillets at the moment. So here is the radius. So let's make that, say, 6 millimeters. or 6.35. Let's make it a perfect 1/4 inch, which was the radius that I was using for the router cutter. Now all I do is come down, see that little arrow pops up? How cool is that? Down here till I see the arrow, and there it is. Now, I can get rid of it by left clicking again when the cross is on it, and it says, goodbye, I don't want you there anymore. But I can come back and let's put it back on. And we can see when I increase the size of what I'm doing here, that was a whole lot easier than trying to find the tangent and the perpendicular from there and try and get an origin point for a circle there. Fillets are my new best friend. So now I want to put a fillet here too, because I'm thinking, you know, that looks okay, but how about we do something of a good size? So let's do something close to 1 inch, 25 millimeters, and then come up to here and say, there's the fillet. Now a lot of people are going to say, you know what? A lot of things, this is a lot of mucking around, but see, I can now punch this out on the CNC, and I can use that as a template for the traditional way of doing things by cutting it out with a jigsaw or a bandsaw, and then gluing the template or sticking the template down onto my workpiece, which might be 2 inches thick, and then run it over the router table using John's dust shroud with a pattern follower. So double bearing spiral up cutter is what I use for that kind of stuff. And it, again, I keep telling people, it is a router. It's a woodworking tool, except for instead of doing this, holding on to it, I'm using this and I'm directing the machine to do it via the computer, the stepper motors, and on the router there. So it's just a different way. It's still another tool. Okay. All right, I do all my drawings in Adobe Illustrator and then import into Aspire. It's much easier for me. Well, I get that. It's what you're comfortable with. But as I said at the beginning of the show, I was given Aspire by Vectric because I am labeled an influencer. And so this is the thing that I'm learning. So I'm just sharing with you as I'm crawling. I don't learn this very quickly, but it's so much fun learning it. All right, let's do another one. Let's do another one. Let's say, all right, let's get rid of that one and do a monster 25 millimeter there. How cool is that? That was just so easy. Now, let's close. Left click on the close, and we're going to go from CAD, which is computer aided design, over to the other side, which is computer aided machining, CAM. So there we go. This is what's called a vector now. So I have that vector, all continual dotty marching ants lines. And let's say I want to cut it out. So I'm going to left click on a profile toolpath, and I want to go 1/2 millimeter through the job. Remember, this board, this is my workpiece that I'd be cutting this out of, is 18 millimeters thick. So I've told it to go 18.4, and I'm going to use a 6.35 millimeter cutter, which is a 1/4 inch end mill. Basically, it's a spiral up. And I'm going to cut on the outside of the vector. I'm going to go around the outside. And I'm going to go in this direction, which is called climbing, not conventional. If I was using a handheld router, I would go this direction because it's pushing, the cutter is turning this direction, pushing into the job. But going climb, what happens is, as I'm going this way, it's wanting to race ahead, but it can't because the machine's got a hold of it. But it's a much cleaner cut. As the cutter is turning down, it's pulling the timber down into itself. So basically, the job is its own sacrificial piece. It's not tearing out the other side. So this is another advantage of the machine. So I'm not going to do any offsets. I'm not going to do a separate pass at the end. I'm not going to add any tabs at this stage because this is only a demonstration. I'm not going to ramp it, which means the cutter, instead of just going and then doing a cut, it travels in at an angle and then does the circle and then another circle. I've told it to do 4 passes. Its safe Z position is 10 millimeters above the job, which means the router will come up out of the job and give it 10 millimeters clearance above the job before it moves to the next part to go down, so you don't drag it through and destroy the job. Are you finding this interesting? I know some people will be going to sleep and they'll say, this isn't woodworking. I understand that. It's basically going from steam engines to electric. It's progression. Why not? Okay, John, thank you. Okay, David, thank you. As I said, some people will be interested, some people will just, their eyes will glaze over. Like Rick, I think he's gone. He's got no interest in it at all, and I understand. I'm getting a little bit of a leaning kind of mark in my arm. Fun stuff. You're enjoying it, Peter. Now, well, here's the fun part. Now, I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell it now that I'm happy with all of that, and to calculate it. Now, when I click the calculate button, what's going to happen is it's going to tell me, it's going to warn me, because I've told it to cut 18.4 millimeters deep, that I'm going to go through the job into my spoil board. This is the base board underneath the job that's on the CNC machine. Calculate, left click. Straight away, see that? Material thickness 18, maximum tool depth 18.4. Will cut through. And thank you, Aspire. Thank you for letting me know. Now, I told you to show it up as pine, not MDF. I can select whatever I see it in over here. I could do it in brass if I wanted to, or maybe in granite, or maybe, let's see what else, blue plastic. There's all of these things that it lets me see it in, and it's just fantastic. So I'm going to go back to pine, because pine's pretty easy to see. Now, I'm going to increase the size of this image a little bit, and I do that by pushing down on the scroll wheel on my mouse and pushing forwards, rolling it forwards, and that, per click, makes it larger so I can see it. I'm watching as I wonder how they work, but we'll never have one. Well, Michael, that's fine. If you're curious about how they work, you know, that's one of the things I do. I love to share information. And if you take something away from today and never get one, never get a machine like this, but if you go to a show and you see someone with a CNC machine working and showing it at a show, you're not going to stand there and be ignorant. You'll be able to look at it and go, I know what's happening here. And that to me, that's an absolute joy. It really is. Okay, now, what I've got now is, this is the profile, and you can see if I click up here on the left-hand side for the 2-dimensional view instead of a 3-dimensional view, it will show me the toolpath and the direction that the machine is going to travel around the board. It's going to start here and go around this direction. As I said, this is a climbing cut. Very important. The cutter is turning this direction as it's going along. The job itself is its own sacrificial board. It's cutting back into itself, not pushing it away from the job and tearing out. Little things like this. I love it. Okay, so we can look at that and say that's fine. I'm going to go back to a 3-dimensional view now. And we're going to preview it. And I'm going to slow it down to about there. Now, the reason I do that, otherwise, it's just going to go zzz, and it's finished, and you won't see it. There's going to be 4 passes. It's going to go around, and then right at the end, see how I've got here, the global fill color is yellow. That means if I can see yellow at where that blue line is now, or just outside of that blue line, I've cut all the way through. So let's have a watch. This is the router going away. That's the 2nd pass. 3rd pass, and now the last pass. Oh, actually it's not going to show me the global fill color as yellow, it's going to show it as mauve. All right, my bad. Do I need tabs? Let's do that. Let's go back and throw some tabs in. So I'm going to go out of here, back over from computer aided machining to computer aided design. And I'm clicking on the 2D view. And I see everything is good there. And then I'm going to go back again over to the machining. And now I'm going to double click this and say add tabs, this area down here. Now I'm going to edit the tabs. The tabs are 8 millimeters long by 2 millimeters thick, and they're going to be at the bottom of the trench. So I'm going to add tabs simply by left clicking on the job. I don't like doing it in circles, so I will put it there and there. Now these are going to leave little areas. These are going to leave little areas where it's still going to retain this board inside the job. I can get rid of the tabs simply by left clicking on a tab and it gets rid of it. Same as I did with the fillets. Click on it once to put it there, click on it again to get rid of it. Okay, so 2 millimeters deep. The reason being, I'm going to go 0.4 of a millimeter deep past. So my tabs are actually going to be 1.6 millimeters thick by 8 millimeters long. Now let's have a look at that. We'll calculate it and we'll show you. Here we go. Yes, as I just said, I'm going to go through 0.4 more, so it's 1.6 millimeters thick. And now let's preview. So we're going through and coming up for the last one. And there's tab, 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 and tab. See that? So the tabs are actually yellow. Let's have a look at that. You can see the tabs there. Now what I can do also now is I can drag back on the scroll mouse, on the scroll wheel on the mouse, and now I'm going to left click the left button on the mouse and hold it down, and I'm going to drag the mouse over left. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm rotating the job over to see from the underside, and about there is fine. And you can see there's the tabs, and that keeps David safe. That stops this thing or the cutter snapping, or this thing becoming a missile and flying across the room and smacking me in the head. If I want to see what it looks like again from above, this is God's view from the Z-axis. Up here got Z, X and Y. So let's have a look from the Z-axis. I'm going to left click on that and it takes it back to how it looks. I can look at it from the X-axis, which is across the front, and I can look at it from the Y-axis, which is from the side. But that's boring, so let's go back to there. Or this one I think is 3D. How cool is that? And I can actually save this preview image by clicking there, and it'll save it as a JPEG. So there we go. That, my friends, is the end of my little Aspire fun. I don't want to save it. And we'll go back to the main camera here and flick back to there. So what do you think? I stand up again. It's good fun. As I say, I love these things, you know, and I love the CNC. Again, a year ago, if you said to me, David, I want to talk to you about a CNC machine, I would have run a mile. I used to panic because I didn't know anything about them. And people would come up to me at the store and they'd say, tell me about the CNC. Oh, geez, I don't know. I'll have to get someone for you. Hence, I don't like being ignorant about things. If someone starts talking about something, I like to be able to be involved in the conversation. Where do I find that program? Ron, if you go to Vectric Limited, VECTRIC.LTD or vectric.com, I think that's it. You can download Aspire and trial it for free for a month. Now, the thing is, a spar is not cheap. It's pretty pricey. But the good thing that Vectric do is they sell their programs in modules. So you can buy the desktop version of any of their programs, and it will, the maximum size job you'll be able to do is 600 millimeters by 600 millimeters. You can't go bigger than that. If you want to go bigger than that, you have to buy their pro version. Now the thing is, Vectric don't penalize you for getting in at an entry point, which is the cheap area. So what you do is you buy the basic stuff, and if you want to expand, or they subtract the cost of your original purchase from the cost of the next one you wanted to go to, and they charge you the difference. There's no penalty. Now, also, yes, Mitch, I will be at work tomorrow. I hope. You know, I thought I might have gone last week, but I just wasn't up to it. So I've already told the manager down there, Steve, that I hope to be there tomorrow. And it'd be good to get back down there again. I kind of miss the store. You know, it's one of those things, one day a week. It's I love to catch up with people. Now, Fusion 360 also is free. I think up until you make a certain amount of money with it, and then they start charging you for it. So it's an interesting thing. VCarve, as John was just talking about there, you need to do your own research as far as all of this stuff's concerned. Coffee, because I think, oh, who won the other set of iMuffs? Am I mean? Okay, so the other set of iMuffs that we're giving away, or that not we're giving away, George is doing it out of the goodness of his heart because he's such a nice guy. The other person, and I will get a little thing ready here, because they put in so much effort to get a set. It is, I have to read it, in the United States, John Lowry. John and Christian, I'm going to send you an email, and we'll take it from there. I'll forward that, your address, on to George, and George will sort it all out. He'll probably get you. He'll probably get one of the local distributors to send your iMuffs out. Now, be aware. Here's something when you're entering these competitions. You really do need to be aware that sometimes you will be charged VAT, not by anyone here in Australia, but it depends on your import laws for your country as to whether or not the couriers are going to charge you a tax. I don't know what it's like, but I know that that's happened a couple of times. It happened with some of the TSO guides, and I didn't think that was very fair that, you know, this person won the Traxel guide a couple of years ago, so I covered the cost of that for them. But I'm not doing it anymore because it's going to send me broke. Your wife jumped out of her chair because I yelled out. There you go. John, you've been with the show for many years, and thank you for being such a loyal viewer, and you always make comment on things that I put on Facebook, whether they deserve it or not. You're very supportive. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you so much to everyone who are my patrons, and thank you to everyone who purchased things through my Amazon links, which are in the description box below where it says show more. Click that, there's a heap of links there. These things keep me doing it, keep me wanting to learn this stuff for you guys and spend hours down here in the shed prior to a show getting things organized. Remember, if you're a patron and you want to get these things from John, there's going to be quite a discount for you. And that's something else we might, look at doing further down the track as well, because that could be good. All right. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll come down to this one, and there we go there. And this is not the music for underpants, as someone had put on Facebook during the week. This is my music. You enjoyed the show? That's fantastic. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be nice to each other, stay safe, and I shall see you next week. Bye.